Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an exciting tutorial where we're going to convert a podcast template into a working website. So this is the finished version of the website we are going to create here. So it has a hero section here, of course, and some stuff there, a 3-column section. And then here it shows you the popular podcasters that are on the site. So there are only 2 currently here, and you can tell how many podcasts each one of them have uploaded so far. Here we see the most popular podcasts listed, and 10 of them, and then we have a nice footer down here. And of course we have a menu here. All right, so we have that menu there. And we can go to podcasters to see all the podcasters here. They're listed by order of popularity. So popularity is calculated by the number of views per day of each profile. Then we have the recent podcasts here. So here you can just click play and a podcast will play. Or you can click on one of these images or the title to actually go to the single view page of that podcast. And you can also click on there to see the profile of the user that created the podcast. So in this case, this is my current logged in user. And so I even see the account settings, and I can edit the settings right here and click save. Also, I can click here to see the podcasts that I have here as a user, as you can see. And of course we have pagination here. If I press page 2, it will take me to the second page, but there are no podcasts here. So we go back to the first page, and there it is. So back to the menu again, we can see popular podcasts here. Same thing, I can click on a podcast, listen to it, a little bit of description down there, and obviously the most listened, which those with the most views. So there's podcasts with the most views, there's those that are more popular, and those that what else is there, and those that are recent, right? So you can see that here. All right, so we also have a login and sign up page here, of course. So if I log out here, you can see I have this cool login page, and of course we can sign up on this sign up page. Now if I go back to the login, then I can of course log in as one of the podcasters and come here, and then I can click on new podcast to add a new podcast. If I cancel here, that takes me back to my profile. Then I can also click there for a new podcast, and then I just need to add an image like there, and then add an audio file by clicking browse and put a title and stuff. And there's error correction here. If I try to save, it says please enter a valid title. So we have validation there as well. I can also just click edit on a podcast to edit it and change what's there. So if with this one I can put a 2, for example, at the end and save, and you see that 2 now there, right? I can click on delete if I want to delete this podcast, and then click the delete button, and that will delete it. But we don't want to delete it. I just want to re-edit and remove that 2 over there, and hit save, and there we go. So everything works accordingly. If I try to click on a different podcaster's profile, I do not see the user settings here, so I cannot edit. But I can tell this one has 2 podcasts so far, and I can click there to see their podcasts that they have on their profile. And of course, if you click play on any of these, the podcasts will start playing. Okay, so we're going to see how to create this. Now, to avoid making the video way too long, because this is an 8-hour tutorial, so I'm going to cut it into 3 parts. So part 1, 2, and 3, so that at least it's easier to digest Now, I will not put the admin section on this one, but if you want that, you can let me know by the end of the tutorial if you want the admin section as well. Okay guys, without further ado, let's begin creating our podcasting website. So to start with, we need to download a template which I created, and the link is in the description. Now, of course, you can use any template of your choice. Doesn't have to be this one. As long as it's HTML and CSS, that's good enough. But once you get to the link of this one, you can click download template, and also you can click edit template if you want to edit it. So you are free to edit the template or look at the demo preview, but go ahead and download afterwards. If you edit, in the end there's a file menu, you can click the download button. Also a second template here for the login and sign up pages over here. So download those two and we're ready to go. And of course you can click on free templates here to look for more templates on my website here. That's freephptutorials.com. So I will be adding templates here for a very long time. That way you can use them for your projects. All right, so let's get started here. I'm going to open a new tab. And what I want to do is grab the stuff that I downloaded. So what I did was I went into Drive C. Now you have to make sure that you have a server ready to use. In my case, I'm using XAMPP, which contains Apache server and MySQL. So we're going to need MySQL, we're going to need Apache. Make sure both are started, so you start these two processes, MySQL and Apache as the server. Now if you don't have this, just download XAMPP for your system, install it, and we are good to go. So inside the Drive C XAMPP htdocs folder is where I added a folder called templates, and in that I added podcast. Now you don't need to, you can skip the templates folder, you can just put inside htdocs, you can put the podcast folder directly in there, and that's fine. As long as you are in the htdocs folder, we are good to go. Now depending if you have a different server, you should look for the folder, the public folder for that server. All right, so we're going to use the MVC framework that we created in previous videos. So there are links in the description, or you can search my YouTube channel for MVC framework from scratch. That will show you how we created this framework from scratch. And so far there are, I think, like 2 update videos which update the framework up to the current state. So watch the updates as well, that'll be good. All right, so if you've already watched those videos, then we are good to go. Yeah. Now you don't really need to know how we created the framework to use it. So if you don't want to watch those videos, that's fine too. We can begin right away. So what I'm going to do is extract these folders here. So extract to separate folders. And there we go. So now the podcasting thingy here, the index.html is in there. And you can see this is how the podcast website looks like. For some reason this image does not exist. I don't know why. Who knows, but there we go. This is how it looks like. Now this part here is for the user profile, and yeah, that's for the profile, and this segment is for showing a list of podcasters and so on. And then we have our menu over here, and this is what we've got. So you can edit this as you wish, like that. So of course I tried to make it responsive. I actually didn't check whether it's responsive or not, but that's not really a big deal, because we don't really care about that for now, but I don't think it's very responsive. So this is not a responsive template at all. But that's fine. We want to learn PHP, so that's why we're here. Now let's begin by extracting or making use of our... Oh wait, there's a login page here as well. So open that. And there we go. So that's the login and sign up for our podcaster. Alrighty then. Great. Now that we have all that, let's grab our MVC. And this is what we have in there. So there's app and public folder. Now I'm going to cut these folders and put them directly into the podcast folder here. And then I will delete the original MVC folder because I don't need that. It's empty now. And these two will have our... now I don't need the zip files. I can delete those as well. Now I have these here, which is fine. So the main folders are app and public. These two are just stuff. So in order to clear things a bit better, I'll just put stuff there and then move these two in there like so. That way we can see this is just stuff, but the real folders are app and public. And then I'm going to get a text editor. So you can use any text editor of your choice. I'm using Sublime Text, which you can download for free. And then I'll drag and drop my folder in there. Now you can use VS Code, you can use Notepad++. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's begin our coding work here. So if we go through the application here, just a quick overview of what's going on. We have our controllers folder. This is where we put all our page controllers. Now every page must have a controller and a view file to function. The controller is where we put all the PHP code that runs for that page, and then the view file, corresponding view file, is going to display the result of that operation here. The core contains all the core necessary files that make the framework run, and the models contains all the classes that we use. So each table connecting to the database, each table should have a class of its own here. So for example, the users table has the user class here, but the others are just classes that we use for different things. For example, resizing images. The pager here is for pagination. The request here is for when we receive a post or get request to manage those, and then session manages the user session, right? So that's the basic idea. And the public folder here contains all the publicly accessible files like CSS files, images, and so on. And JavaScript files, if any, will be right there. Okay. So now let's get started. So what I want us to build first is the login and sign up page. So we already have a mockup of the login and sign up page. So let's see that in action. So right here, I want to navigate to my folder. So I'm going to type localhost, make sure Apache is running, and localhost takes us to the htdocs folder. So in there, we will do /templates/podcast. So you put what you need in there accordingly, and then we're going to put the /public at the end there, and then we have the homepage view like so. Now all of you that worry about these folders showing up here, they don't show up on your final product when you take it to an online server. So this public /this/that doesn't show up. It just be your website.com and that's it. You just make sure that the public folder here is the public folder on your online server there. That's it. Okay, so with this in mind, let's go ahead and do the /signup like so. So you can see this is our basic sign up page, and the view file is over here in the views sign up. This is the one. So let's replace this with the one template that we brought with us. So I'm just gonna open podcast and go to stuff. Then let's go to sign up and login. Now we have the assets folder here. Let's rename this to reflect the what we are using this for. I'm just going to name it assets login like that. So you can rename it to anything you want. Then copy these two files. No, in fact, just copy this folder. I'm going to do a copy there, go to podcast, go to, because we need this in the public. Yeah, so there's the assets folder for the main assets there. Let's just paste it here. So because images and CSS files are supposed to be public, so we put them in here. Now all we need to do is go ahead inside stuff here. I can use this browser here. I want just the index.html page, so I'm going to copy everything. Go to the signup.php down here, and then under this, I don't want to erase what's here, so I'm going to paste things down here, like so. I'll do exactly the same thing on the login page as well. Paste. All right, save. That's good. Now we can go to our sign up page and let's see what we've got. So I don't see anything new here, maybe because we didn't save. So I didn't save, that's true. So if I now refresh, this is what I see. Now, of course, there's no CSS showing up here, and that's why. So what we're going to do is make reference. So every reference to assets here, I'm going to select like this and look for every reference, which is only those two. So I want to change assets login to assets login, and then I need this to be absolute paths. So I'm going to put my root and then put a slash there. So every link on the website must be started with root, because this is a root directory, to make sure that all the URLs are actually absolute. So here we say podcast. We got to choose one of these. This is the sign up page, so let's just put sign up over there. Same thing here, I'll remove the login there, and this one should take me to the login page. So what I'll do is put a root, of course, since this is a URL, then slash login. If you want to go to the sign up page, though this is unnecessary here since we are already on the sign up page, I can just paste or just remove that there, like so. Let me remove this break tag, don't need it. And then there's sign up there, that's great. On the login side of things, I'm going to go up here and do a replacement here as well. This is going to go to assets login as well, and then put my root path slash like that. Okay, and then this is podcast login like that. Let me delete the rest of this. And here where it says login sign up, I'll leave the appropriate one. The home page, we're gonna paste. Home page is just root actually, which I didn't do on this other page. Did I do that? No. Let me paste that here. Okay, so back to the login page. Now I'm on the login page, so I don't need a navigation to the login page, so I'll remove that. Here I need one to the sign up, so I'm gonna do sign up like this, and I think that does it. This is our login page, so instead of sign up here, in fact this whole div that has sign up here must be removed because we do not need it. This is the login page after all, so we only need this small section over here. So everything is well labeled, that's good. The only thing we should change is this particular div should be changed to a form. Let's also give it a method, and that method will be post. Don't forget to create a closing form version of that, and that's that. Okay, so looking great actually. Let me see here, podcast login, blah blah blah. All right, cool. Back to the sign up section. For the sign up, we can delete the bottom part which has the login page. Delete that. So we have register here, sign up, which is the same as register. What do we change? Well, we're gonna change that into a form. Give it a method of post, and let's make sure we don't forget the closing form tag, like so. Okay, goody. I like that. Okay, so now since we'll start with the login page, now let me see what we've done so far. So sign up page, things don't seem to have worked still. We don't have our CSS, and that's not good. So if I look at the base assets, so every time you can't see your CSS, it just means your path is wrong. Now you can confirm that by simply going right click and say view source, and then looking at exactly what the link is taking you to. So you can click on one of these CSS files, and if you see the view file not found here, it means this is the wrong link. So it's something wrong with the link here. So if I look closely, there's localhost MVC public assets. So that's the wrong place. So the reason this is wrong is because the MVC original has a inside the core, there's a config file, right, which tells you what the base or what is the value of the root, which we've been using all this time. So when you take your website online, you're going to change the settings here. So the database config for your online version are here. For the local version, they are here. So here, this is all good, but here it's /template, then /podcast, like that, and then /public. Don't put a slash at the end like that. Okay, so this one is called podcast as the website name, so we rename it to that. Best website on the planet. We can leave that tagline. Now when you take this thing online again and you don't want to display errors, you can put false here. That way you won't see any errors. But while you're debugging and creating things, it's better to leave it at true. Okay, with that in mind, we are ready to go. So here it should work now. And it still isn't working. So let's go ahead and look at the page source. Okay, so the link has changed. So I think the problem is we said template when it's templates. So the best thing to do, instead of just typing your link, is to just copy the link from here up to the point where it says public. Copy that and then bring it here and paste over there. Okay, so replace this whole part up to where it says public. So paste, and there we go. That'll be much better. So refresh, and there we go. Our CSS files are working. But let's grab some stuff from here, put it down there so we can delete this top part. So already, let's go to the sign up here. And here, placeholders we don't need. We just need these guys that show us errors, right? So let me grab this error thingy here. I don't need the break tag at the end. I just need that. Copy that for the username. So there's an input here, and this input is inside a... So in this case, I think we can put them here like so. Get error, username. If they don't work out, we're going to change them a bit later. But for now, I think these will work in here. So paste. This one is first name. All right. Let me put one more here. Oops. This one is last name. So this part displays errors when we are signing up. If something doesn't work well, this is going to display our errors. So paste that. This one is for errors pertaining to the email, and this one is for errors pertaining to the password. I don't need errors for the password retype because I can simply use the same one. So that's good enough. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, we need old value there as well. So I'm going to copy this old value part with a value there. Copy that whole thing. And where are we? So if I go to the input here, we should have an old value there for username. That way, if I make an error and the page refreshes, it will still show me what I had typed. So paste that. That's for first name. Let's paste here as well on that input. That's for last name. And finally, let's paste that for the email. Oh, we need more, even for the password. So this one is password. This one is retype password. So what we are putting in here should match what's in the name in there. So retype password. Okay, great. Let's put the same content on the login side. Here there are only 2 inputs, so it won't be that hard. Paste. This is for email, and this is for password. Alrighty. Then for errors, really, we just need one of them. So I'm going to grab this one here. Okay, so come back. For an error here, I'm going to paste that there and change that to email. Okay, cool. Now with that in mind, I can absolutely delete what's at the top here. Save. Go to the sign up version as well and delete this form at the top. And save. Okay, so now if I refresh my sign up page, this is what I have. So I do have the home page. I can go to the login page, sign up page, and there we go. So sign up is like that. If I try to register right now, it tells me these are required fields, which is nice, but it's a good idea to actually know what would happen if somebody, because this required part, this part of the validation is inside the HTML, so anyone can edit this. So what we need to do is remove this for now. Let me select all versions of this, and I'm just going to put false there so I can later change it to true if I want. So nothing is required. That way we can submit an empty form. It's important to know what happens when you submit an empty form, because somebody can spoof that. So the PHP side should be able to handle that. So let's click register. Let me refresh. Click there. Why does it still say required? I guess I missed one. Or maybe it doesn't matter what you put inside the required. I think it doesn't matter. That's the issue. So we just need to delete the whole required part here. So I'm just gonna do, then we'll put them back when we need. So just remove that. And now sign up. So it has refreshed the page, and here it says username is required, email is required. Now, these don't look very much like errors, right? So let's fix that. That way I want them to kind of look like errors. So let's come down here, and I'm going to select this part. Okay, Control D to select multiple of those. So what I want to do first of all is put a small tag in there, and then put a style in there and say color red. Okay, then I'm going to use Control and go to press the end button to go to the end. Oh, that's actually wrong. Let me undo that. Let me type again red. I'll press Shift end to take me to the end, and then press the right arrow and then move back like so. I want to put the closing small tag, that's all. Like that. I just want the text to be smaller and red. So click on that, and there it is. So it says username is required, email is required, password is required. Okay, so none of these are required, the first name and last name. So let's add them to the list of required items and some validation. Okay, great. So what we're going to do here is go to our model. So the user model, where is this? Inside models, the user model handles what data is saved in the users table, and here are the validation rules. So we can add some more. So here I'm just going to do that, and let's duplicate 2 times to add two more things. So here I'm adding first name and I'm adding here last name. Okay, great. Now with this, they're just required these. So I'll change this not less than 8 chars to alpha, not space, just alpha like that, because we just need alphanumeric items in there. So these rules are created in model.php there. So if you are not happy with a certain rule, you can simply edit it here in the validate function, and this is what it checks for. If the rule is required, email alpha, so you can add extra rules as you please there. So now that we've added those two and I click register, you see now it says first name is required, last name is required. Okay, great. So it's checking for those now as well. So once we are done with this, we can, now we need a table. This is the thing we need here. We need a table, and the users model tells us that the table is called users. So that's what it should be called there. If you change the table name, you can change there. And then if you have a different column name for your primary key, you should probably put it there as well. And then here you specify the unique column, that is usually the column that the user will use to as the login column usually when they're logging in. So you put that name there. Maybe it's not username, maybe it's phone number or something. Okay, so with that, let's create our table. Now, if we go back to the config, we have to tell it what the DB name will be called. So the rules for the local version are here, and the DB name here is going to be podcast_DB. The host name is localhost because it's local. If it's online, you put the host name. The root is the username. Now, this is the username you added when you created or installed MySQL, and the password there as well. The driver should be MySQL, like that. Probably the same will be said for this one, MySQL. So put the correct username and password. Now, if you didn't add any password or username, you can use root. If you're using mump, it will probably be root as the password as well. But otherwise, this is the thing. So let's make sure this database exists. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. So let's go to localhost and then /phpMyAdmin over here to view our MySQL database. So once that loads, we can create a new database. So let's click new there, or you can simply go to the SQL tab and start typing some queries there, like create database. The query to create a database is very simple. You can just type here create database, and let's call it podcast_DB. It's as simple as that, and click go, and a database will be created. So there it is, podcast_DB. And we can also use SQL again to create a table, but let's just do it the old-fashioned way of using a GUI. So here we're going to put the users table. What do we need here? We need first name, last name, email, username, and then password as well. That's 5 columns, but we may need the date as well to know when the user was introduced. So that's about 6 columns. It doesn't matter really if you get them right. You can always add new columns by clicking the go button there. So I'll keep things simple by making my primary key column ID, and then here I'll put auto increment, make sure it's the primary key as well. Then here let's do first name, first name. Make sure you name the columns properly, because just one letter difference makes a whole huge difference. So username, there's also email. I think I may be short here, and there's password there. So a few missing. I think the date is missing. Let's add 2 actually. Let's put user role as well, role. and then we'll put a date as well. So it could be date or date updated. You can add those as you wish. The row, let me put variable character here. The row could be admin, for example, like admin, and the rest could be just users. So admin is the largest here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. So we can tell it the length here as 5 characters, but you may want to add a different kind of row. So let's just put 10 for just in case. So password, we don't know really how big the password will be. We'll put 255. Email, let's put 100 characters allowed. Username can be 30 characters, same as first name and last name. Let's change those to variable characters as well. This one, the int is 11 in length, so it knows that already. Let's click here, select the date time on here, and let's put a default value as no to allow empty values, just in case. Nothing else should be allowed to be no in this case, so we will not do that. We'll not select any no's after this, and let's hit save. Wait, what did I do? I think I ended up pressing something else, so let me save over here. You have an error in your syntax, so I'm thinking it's this part that I opened up here for some reason. Partition. How do I close this? I don't know what I clicked to bring this up, but this is unfortunate. Let me try and delete these guys here. Maybe that'll work. You have an error. Oh crap. So I've made a mistake here. I don't know how to get rid of this. Partitions, let me put 0. You have an SQL error syntax. Okay, so this is not working. So my bad, I have to start again. So I'm just gonna click on podcast again, create a table, users. Let me put 8 columns here, I think, or even 9. Let me just put 10, just to be sure. I'll be careful not to press anything. I don't wanna press this time. Auto increment primary. Let's do first name. Last name, username, email, password, what else? Row, date. Okay, that does it. So variable character, varchar, varchar. All these can be 30, 30, 30. Email 100. Password 255. This one 10. Make sure it's variable character. And then date time here. And make sure a default value of no is selected. Okay, so with that, carefully now, I'm gonna click on save. Okay, great. Now, whatever I'll be using to read data from here should have an index at least, so the email qualifies. I'll select index there. If you want to be searching by user row, you can do that. By date, you can add an index there as well. If you want to be searching user names, we can also add an index over there. Okay, for now this is okay. If I click browse, we see it's an empty situation. Good. So let's try and sign up. So here I'm going to put a username. I'm going to go ahead and put my first name, surname. Let's put an email, the email I always use. Let's put a password here. I'm going to type the word password itself. Okay, so we've done our registration here, and if everything goes well, it should take us to the login page. So since things are working already here, that's good. Now, if we check it out, what's happening when we click on this sign up page? Let me go to controller, sign up. This is the controller. So this page is loaded. And in here, it creates a new user model. And then it creates a new request model. and it just checks if something was posted using the request model. And then in the user model, there's a function called signup, and you pass in what was posted, and it's basically it. So if you want to know what's going on here, you can go to the user.php model and look for the function signup. So this is what is happening in the signup situation. So the first thing it does is it validates the data. If something is off, then it won't run any of this to just load the page again. But if things are okay, it's going to encrypt the password, going to create a new date. Now, since we don't have date created, we can easily delete that. We just use date. And then we can insert. Now, even without deleting that, it would still work because the insert function removes all columns that are not part of the table. And then we redirect ourselves to the login page. So you can change which page is redirected to here. Maybe you want to redirect to the home page or the profile page. That's up to you, but I'll leave it on the login page like that. Now, also on the login page, it would be good to tell the user that something that they created that they created this successfully, right? They created an account successfully. So let's go to the login view page right there. Now, right about here, I can put a message right there. Now, I didn't create a message thingy here, so I'm just going to use my own styling here. And the question I need to ask is in PHP and say if message. So we have a function called message, and it just checks if there's a message in the session and then echoes it out. So if message like that, which is great, then we can run this part here. I'm going to say end if. Okay. So if there's a message, then let's echo that message here and delete it. So I'm just going to echo it by doing that. Close that. Now to delete, we have to put a second parameter that says true. So here I put an empty string and then put true there. That's how I delete the message. So the only reason I have to put this is because I need to get to that. If I just put this, it will assume that's the message. So now this, of course, I can add a bit of styling. So the color is red, for example, and there's some padding here of 10 pixels, and then text align center. So you can always edit how you want that to look. Now, in order for us to have a message, we have to save the message using the message function. So I'm going to go in the here, right here. So at this point, we are sure that we have created our new profile. So you're just going to say profile created successfully. Say please log in to continue. At least like this, they know what's going on. Great, guys. So let me come back here and let's click register and see if things work as intended. So click, and it seems it worked because look here, it says profile created successfully, please log in to continue. And if I go to my database table and click browse, you can see that things are working out. But looky here, the first name and last name are empty. Now you may be asking, why are these empty here? Now that's because if we go to the user model, which we are in right now, there's this list of allowed columns. These are columns you're allowed to edit. So you have to add those two there, otherwise it won't work. So first name, let's add another one called last name. Let's add a user row as well. And let's add the date as well. So if you notice, all these that I didn't add did not save. The row, the date, the first name and last name. So now that I've added them, they will save. So don't always forget when you want to, when you create new columns, you have to add them here if you want them user editable. Okay, great. So let's redo what we just did. Now on the login page here for the message, I can add also border and say solid, thin, and put a red color over there. Okay, great. So let's go back. Now I'm going to go to operations here and truncate the table. That's to delete the table and reset the auto increment. So I'm going to click on sign up one more time, and let's try to sign up again. So I'm going to use that name, surname here, email, and then password, and again password. Okay, now one thing I forgot is when I'm saving here in the user thingy here, I have to add one more column here that is not included, which is row. Now the default row for anyone signing up should be user, so we're gonna just put user there like so. All right, great. So let's click register, and there we go. Please, profile created successfully. Please log in to continue. Now that I have this, I wanted to add a background color, but it's okay. I think this works just fine. Okay, now let's go ahead and check the browse part. So you see now everything is saved as intended there. So let's actually log in. So I'm going to say email, password. And once we log in, it should take us to the home page. So log in, there we go. Now I wanted to try and log in with the wrong stuff. Now it says please enter a valid email, and that's not cool. So let me put back the required on here. So I'm just going to select this just so I can select all of them at once and just say required equals, then let's put those empty brackets. That way when they sign up, at least we have JavaScript validation as well. Let's go to the login side. It has that validation, which I don't need now. So I'm going to go required, remove that, because I want it to actually submit even though I haven't put anything. So then it says wrong email or password, which is great, but let's make it more error look alike. So here I'm going to say, let me move here to say small, opening tag, closing small tag, and then let's put a style here for color, which is red. Simple like that. So let's click login, and there we go. So let me try email there, save, nothing. How about the correct password this time? Save. So now we have the homepage view, and we are able to sign up and log in. Awesomeness. So now let's display our homepage, shall we? So if we go now to our page here where there's stuff, there's podcast website template, I'll open that folder. And this is the one with the index.html, which has that. So I'll close that. Let me grab the assets folder and copy that, go back to podcast, public, and actually I need to rename it first before I can move it, because there's already another one named assets. This one, I'm gonna call it assets home. You can call it anything you want, really, it doesn't matter. So copy that, public, paste. Okay, great. Now that we've moved it, I want the index page from the podcast website there. Click, I'll copy everything from there. Go to my actual homepage view file, select everything, paste. That way I have just replaced everything else. Here, let's just put the word podcast, and here I can put the app name, close that like that, and put a pipe on there. Now I know this because it's in the config and there's app name there. There's also app description, which I should probably put in the description part here. So meta, there's title, there's also description here you can put. I don't remember how you put the description, but find that meta tag and put app description in there instead as the value. So podcast, that's great. Let me remove this break tag over here. Alright, so things are good here. There's our menu that we have. So let's just make sure our menu works. I'm gonna put an =, root, like that. So that's for our home page, right? So copy that. Podcasters, now it's up to you how you want to write this. You can write it as podcasters. That's great. Let's put that /recent. So you can put whatever name you want at the end, popular, as long as you name your controller by the same name as well. So root, we'll do most. Now herein comes an issue. You may want to put something like most recent. This is one thing I didn't account for because most recent like this may mean we change how we view our file name. So we're going to see how that works. And here there's the about. So /about, that's good enough. And here /contact. And here /login. Now the login side here should only show up if we are not logged in. All right. So what I'm going to do to view that is to put a PHP if statement here. So I'm going to say if. Now, in order to know that we are logged in or not, we use, what do we use? We use the session thingy here, session.php. Now in there we have a function called, what is that function called? Is logged in there. Now we have to instantiate this whole thing just to run that, but it's up to you how you want to do it. You could create a function that does this for you, the instantiation, and then just returns a result. But here what I'll do is I'll just type session like that and do this and put is logged in. Okay, so if not is logged in, that's when we show this. And let me close that if statement over here. And if, and let's move things in like so. Now we need to define what sesh is right there. So we don't have it, but we can put it right here. Now this is going to be the header file, which means it will be like on every page. So I can put some PHP tags here and just instantiate the stuff that I need. It will be much easier that way. So sesh is equal to new. That one is in the core session like that. So you can put it, make it a one-liner if you want. Just put this all on one line, but that's okay. That way we can use it when we need to. Right, so if I refresh my home page, this is what I get. Now, of course, you don't see the CSS. It didn't load because this is still pointing to assets when it's assets home now. So I'm going to select all places where it's pointing to that, which is quite a bit, and then move here, put my root like that, close it, /assets, and then put _ home. Okay, that will give us an absolute path to this, and there we go. You can see it over here. Things are looking up. Very cool. Everything works. If I click on home, it actually does work. If I click on this one, view file not found, that's great. Okay, so with that in mind, let's remove everything that does not belong on the home page. ergo this here and this profile page here. So we should move them to the appropriate places. So I'll start with podcasters here. Do we have this on the menu or not? Yes, we have podcasters here. So the controller is podcasters. So I'm going to go to the home page, copy everything from the home controller, the home controller here, make a new file in there, paste. And this one will be called podcasters. Please always use the capitalized version, podcasters.php, capital S. So make sure you spell things properly here. So this should podcasters like that. So here I'll write podcasters class, and then here we look for the podcasters view file. So let's go ahead and create the podcasters view file, just somewhere to put our content for now. So I'm going to right click new file here, and I'm just going to save this one as, I don't need to capitalize this one, so podcasters.view.php. Okay, then now I can go to the home page, home view file, and remove the parts I don't like. So let me view this from here, the parts that do not belong on the home page. So it starts with where it says podcasters here. So that section and the next section are not required, just those two sections. So let's make sure we are on podcasters. It would probably be better to just search, and there it is. So there's one section here, right, up to here, which is cool. So we start from 286 up to there, and then the next one as well should be out, and it ends where exactly? Still going there. Okay, so 286 to that part. So let me just go 286. 286, that's here. So I'm going to cut that and come to podcasters view and paste. Save that. Let me come back to the home view here. Let me move this section here. It moved wrongly over there. I'm going to move it back a bunch. Alright, so let's see how our home page now looks. Okay, so we have this part, we have that, and then finally we have a footer over here. Okay, so simple and straightforward here. If we go now to podcasters, we should see something, which is this. Now you can see the CSS there doesn't work as well. That's because we are missing the header part of this. So what we're going to do is let's put in a header view file here. So I'm just going to go views, right click. Now I can put a new folder in here. So let me make a new folder in views, and I can call these ones includes, like that. And then what I'll do is on the home page here, I just want this top part here up to where the header ends, somewhere there. So I'm going to grab all of this up to the very top and cut it out from the home view. Then I'll right click inside includes, new file, paste, and save. This one will be the header.view.php. Very cool. Then if I come back here, I need to include that here. Otherwise I'll have problems. If I try now to reload my home page, the CSS is gone as predictable. So here I want to just require, or I'll just call require, I think. You can use the word include instead. Include doesn't throw an error if it doesn't find the file, but I want it to throw an error, so I put the word require in there. Actually, no, this is not what we should be doing. We should be doing this. View like that to load our view file. And the view file is called header. Now, because it's in a folder, we'll put the folder names there, the folder name there, and say includes/header, like so. And that should do it. And I will refresh, and there it is. Because this is a function we are using to import other files. So let's do the same thing for the footer, shall we? So the footer starts from this section here where it says subscribe. So I'm just going to add that here, like so. And then instead of header, this is going to be footer. And then I'll move everything into the footer that's down here. So cut that, go to the includes, right click, new file, paste, save as footer.view.php. And with that, nothing should change. Everything should look fine. Now let me push these things back a little bit. Alrighty then. So you can go ahead and edit things in here. For example, I want the root path here. That's for the home page, navigation. And this one is /podcasters. This one /recent. This one /popular. And this one /signup. And this one /login. Okay, but of course, these guys we have to check if we are logged in to see them. We already did that in the header, so I wouldn't want to be typing that once more. So I'll copy that, go to footer, paste. Let's put the closing tag as well, the closing end if there. Let's paste that and move everything over. Very good. So when we are logged in, we don't see those. So here we are logged in. Let's see if those disappear. And undefined variable session. Okay, so session is undefined again in this file. So we better define it, right? Same way we did in our header. Now that's only because we're not transferring this data over. So you could do that, but I think for simplicity, I'll keep it like this. I'm just gonna do this and go to the footer and add it there, like that. That way it's there for use. Alrighty then, looking good, looking good. So now what we want is, we are logged in here. Let's see how we can start uploading podcasts, or let's deal with the user profile first, right? Let's deal with that. Now also in the user profile, it would be nice to have an image in there. So let's go to the structure of our database. So go to the database, click on the table. Let's add one more column here on the structure. We're gonna call it image. And let's go ahead and put a variable character, 1024. Let's put a null value to allow no values in there and save. So we're just saving the path of the image in there, and that's about it. Okay, so with this now, I should be able to go to my profile. So if I click here, or I could put that link down below, right there. So let's look ahead down here to the footer, and right here I'm gonna duplicate this and put an else statement, full colon. So here I want one more link, and this one will link me to my profile. So this only shows up if I am not logged in, or if I'm logged in, sorry. Should be profile instead, like so. So refresh, we have profile down there, so you can click on it. And as you can see, nothing there because we don't have a view file or a controller either. So we just need to create that. Now for now, let me just close all files just to see where we are at, and that should do. And then in here, now I can remove you don't need to do this, but for me I can remove because I don't need this anymore. So the stuff folder is irrelevant now because I have everything I needed from it. So I'm just gonna delete it. That way we have a nice and clean situation here. So podcast up and public in there as intended. Okay, so at this point we can sign up, we can log in as well. Now we just need to be able to upload a podcast. But before that, let's be able to edit our profile. For every page, we need a controller. So if I go down here and click profile, we need that controller there. So I'm going to go to controller here. Wait, why does it say view not found anyway? This isn't right. Let me just make sure that it goes through the 404. I just want to see if it's going to echo there, because I want it to go through there. Function const. Okay. So which means it does. For it to show an error there, it actually does go through there, which is great. But it's saying it can't find 404 view file, which is weird. So I'll move this down here just to confirm that it does pass through here. Oh, it actually does show the 404 page. Okay, so it's a 404 page that says view file not found. So here you can change this to page not found, so that if a page isn't found, this is what you see. But this is not good enough because it looks like we've actually left the website. We don't want that kind of look. So let's go to the home page and grab our header, go to the 404, and let's paste it there, and let's do the same for the footer, shall we? So now we have a header and footer, and then a page not found thingy here. Let me add a few styles here. Now say text align center, and then I'll add some padding as well, 10 pixels, or let's just put 1 Okay, so let's move here and refresh. That's a better page not found page, don't you agree? Okay, so page not found, you can put a search bar here instead and stuff. That would be much better. Okay, so popular, same thing, page not found, there, page not found. Let's go to the profile now. Page not found. Okay, great. Now let's make the page found. So I'm going to go to the home page. This is the one we'll be grabbing as the default. Let's paste, let's save that. I'm going to save this as the profile page, capital P.php. Let me change that to profile. Don't forget to change that and that as well. Profile, so which means we are looking for a view file called profile. So let's create it. So I'm going to go with the 404 because it's got the bare bones, and new, paste that and save. So here I'll save profile, small letters all, .view.php. Now if you remember, we had saved that information inside the podcasters view. So podcasters as a list, there's one section here, but let's go to the next section, which is this one. And that's the one with the profile. So from there to the end, that's our profile page. So cut that, save, go to profile view, and in the middle here, I'm going to remove that. I want to paste over there. Now this wasn't formatted properly by my code, so let's just move it a little bit back. I'll move this a lot further. I think this is better. Wow, that's quite... doesn't matter really, as long as it shows. So on the profile page, here we are. All right. Now a profile page should only be viewed by somebody who has logged in. So we're going to go to the profile PHP section here, and we should check if somebody did log in. So I don't want to anyway, I can do that, no problem. I can type it again. So we use the session to check for this. So this is inside the core session, and then I'm going to say if sesh, right, user, and then in here we say, no, let's not do that. Let's just use the is logged in. That's better. And then here we redirect to the login page. So we only care if somebody's not logged in. So let's put our exclamation point there to negate things. So if not logged in, but we are logged in, so this is gonna work, but we can still log out. So down here I should put a logout button just next to profile. So I'm gonna go to the footer. This is the includes and then footer. Right next to the profile link, since if you have a profile, it means you are logged in. Oops, I should do it here. So let's duplicate that, and this one will be log out. And same here, log out. So logout is already set, it's already created here. If we click on the logout, it has its thing here. So unless you want to change where you're redirected to, that's probably all you would need to change there. So I'm going to refresh, and let me try and log out. So log out, there we go. Let me try now and go to my profile. So it's going to be /profile, and it doesn't work. See? Now we may want to put a message, so we can do that before they redirect and just say message and say you are now logged out, like so. Okay, so with that in mind, I can go back and click the logout button / I'll just put in the link and then says you are now logged out. Good. Email, password, and there we go. We are back in business. Let's go back to our profile, and there it is. Good. So these should show only when we have an error, this one when an action is successful. But I needed a way to know which one to choose between the two, but that would just complicate my code. I don't know what to do here. But for now, I just want to display what I want. So here, I want it in such a manner that on the overview, I see this. On the account settings, I see this part. On the podcasts, I see the podcasts there. So this will exchange depending on what's going on. So all we need here is to be able to tell where we are. Now we can do that using just a get variable in there to tell us whether we're on the overview, we are on the account settings, or we are on the podcasts. Now we can, instead of using a get variable, we can do profile /overview or /account settings or /podcasts. So whenever we put something extra, because you know that the the profile here, the word profile is the name of the controller, then the next part here is the name of the function that we're trying to use. So if I do this, I say profile /settings, right? Like this. So what it does is it's going to look for a settings in the profile controller. So let's close these guys. The profile controller, it will look for a settings method. If it's not there, like right now, it will just load the index. But if I do this, Control Shift D, and then here I put one of these and say settings, like that. And then I don't show any view file there. You will notice that it will reflect that it's empty now. And I do that, so which just means we already redirected it to use this function instead of the original one there. And if I refresh, it shows that. Goodie. So in here, just to know where we are at, I can just put this and say mode. I would just call that mode or something, or section. Let me call it a section. Section is equal to settings, like that. That way I know what section we are on. Here, this is the overview. That's what I'm gonna call it. You can call these anything you want. So one is the overview, one is the settings, and the other one is podcasts. So this one is podcasts, like that. So far, we don't need the user to be logged in to see the profile and the podcasts of that user. So what we're gonna do is remove this part, but this part is sensitive, the settings, so they must be logged in. Just the overview as well, maybe not the overview either. So let's remove that. We don't need to be logged in to see the user's overview, just with the settings, right? Okay, great. Now with this in mind, we can check for the section in here to know where we are. So I'm gonna go to profile view section here. Let's go ahead. So first of all, let me remove this break tag here. I don't need these guys. So let's go there. Now this an error occurred here, and this part, the error and this other one, we can close for now. So PHP, I'm gonna put these if there's a message, right? So if there's a message, we show either of the two. PHP, let's do end if. Let me move that over. Okay, that way at least those disappear. Redeclare controller settings on line 34. Okay, so I've made a mistake somewhere on line 34 here. Okay, I didn't change the name of this one. This one is for podcasts. Okay. All right, so those are gone. On the overview, we see this and not the rest. So let's go to the profile view. So after this, I'm going to put another if statement. These are user details. Let me remove that break tag. So user detail here, the if statement will be if not action, but section is equal to overview. Okay, so if it's overview, let me get the end if here. We'll see all of this up to edit user details there, right? Let me do that. And then let's put here another, here we'll put an else actually. So say else if. Let me grab this. Laziness to type. Grab that. And then let me put that there. And I'll put an else. If we are on settings, right? Let's show that. Let me remove that break tag. Then this is for recent podcasts, right? Oops. So I'm gonna put that here. Put an else, don't forget that. Here is for podcasts. Right, so let's go down. More break tags to remove. Up to here, let me see. Where does the... I want to see where this div ends, because it's kind of hard to tell here. It ends there. Let's start this one, ends there, start this one, ends there, start this one. How about this one? Okay, let me put this here. But how about this one? Where does it end? As long as it ends above here, then we are good. Yep. Okay, so that's great. So now at least we... Oh, okay. So my bad. I did not put a proper ending at the end there. This should be end if. And delete all of that. Like so. Okay. Okay, so something going on here. Everything is missing. I just can't see the text, so if I just click and select, it says variable section is unknown. So now the reason section is unknown is that things in the... This is the profile view and this is the profile controller. So if you want to pass in like this section into here, we have to put it inside a variable that we're going to send here. So here I want to send a variable and I'm going to call that variable data. So the name doesn't matter as long as it's an array of some kind to carry more than one piece of data. So I'm going to select that and move and say data section like that. So I'm creating an array called data. Inside a key called section, I'm putting this value. So when it goes there, it will be extracted. So instead of accessing it from data section, I'll just type section as a variable. So this solves the problem. So refresh and there we go. All right, so we are on settings, which means we are on edit user detail. So it's correctly identifying that. But how do I move to the others? So I need to make these clickable. So let's go ahead in profile view, make those guys clickable. And there's overview here. So this one right there, I think I can just change that to an A tag. Same here. And then put an href. So every link starts with root. And then we are on the profile page. And overview, we don't really put anything after that, so that's good. So I'm gonna grab this and change that as well there. Paste, I'll change that to an A, closing A tag. So that's profile / settings, okay. And over here, paste, change that to an A tag. This one is profile / podcasts. Okay, so if I now refresh, nothing seems to have changed, but if I click here, that's what I see. If I click there, that's what I see, and so on. The only thing remaining is to change the classes. You see this one has a different class to the others, so it should show where we are at. So let me go ahead and see what's going on. First of all, let me remove that break tag. So what I need to look at is what class is different. What classes are different on this one compared to this one? So here there's a 74, there's 71. So already that's different. This is exactly the same. That is different to that. So this one here and this one are different here. So those are the ones I need to target. So what I would do is I just need to check where we are at with this section and then echo out the correct class name. So I can do that with PHP in there and just say if. Okay. Now I don't need to put the if statement. I can simply say section equal to, and then say overview, and then put a question mark, then it becomes an if statement. And then, so if section is overview, then the class name here should be 71. Otherwise, it should be 74 because this is for the non-selected parts. So put a full colon, put 74 there, and then close that. Okay, so good. So we need exactly the same question here. So we do 72 instead of 75. So I'm gonna grab this. So this one is 72 here for the selected one. So if section is overview, selected one is 72. This is non-selected 75. Now we can see this in action. If I now refresh, you see that this no longer looks selected. But let's check out which one is selected. Let's try the account settings. Doesn't look selected either. But all we have to do is copy this if statement in there, which goes here and there where there's another 74, paste. Now this one is for settings. This one is for podcasts. Okay, now let's do the second bit of this, which is this class here. So copy the internals. I'll replace all these 75. Wait a second. This one is 76. That's crazy. Okay, let me not change those. Let's see what happens. And it actually works without changing those guys. So no need for that. So I can leave this second part here with class 75. That will be all right. It doesn't look like it's doing anything. So the less code we put, the better. So great. That's looking good, actually. Very, very nice. Okay. Now let's start with the editing of the... When we are editing here, excuse me, we should also be able to edit the image as well. Podcasts shows podcasts. So let's start with this. Now the overview is just the overview. I should have made this bigger. So you can, of course, edit this stuff. Let's go to the overview section. Now you could put these guys in separate files as well. That way you just load the specific file when you need it. Let's see. This part here is what I'm looking at. I want to put a style here. Here I just want to add some padding of 1em. I want more padding on this area here. Yeah, that didn't do much. Let's put 2em. Oh my god. My mouse is terrible. Yeah, much better. Then I want these stretched out, the height of these table row. So what I'm going to do here really is just, I can put some styling in here. Style. And then I'm going to say tr, table row, and put a height of, let's say, I don't know, 20. Let's try m's again. 2em. Let's see if that works. That doesn't seem to work at all. Let's try td. Let's target the content itself. Let's try 4em. Maybe it's already there. Okay, that works. So 4em is better. Looks much better. Let's go here on the settings. This one is fine because there's too much here, so that's okay. Podcasts overview. Okay, great. Also, I can change the text align to the left here, minus this one here, but I think this is okay. So now I want us to read data from the user, so we can populate here on the overview. So that data is in our database. Now we should always do control stuff inside the controller. In this case, this is a profile controller, and this is on the overview here. So we have to do it in this function. So here, to read from the users table, I'm going to create a user new. This one is in the model namespace. You know that by checking the user model itself, and it says right there, model namespace. So we instantiate that and grab one record. So to grab one record, we're going to call that record inside row. Say user, we use the function called first. And with this one, we just give it an array of items we want to match. So in this case, I want to match the current user ID. So in this case, I'm going to say, okay, now I've been asked this a couple of times, so we're going to do that instead. So let's create what is known as a slug instead. We're going to do this, and we're going to put slug over there, like so. Now, where will slug come from? It's going to come from here. So I'm going to put slug there, but it may not always be there, so let's put is equal to no to make it default. Now, this is taken from the URL. So what happens here is we have profile, right? And then we have slash, let's say settings. Now that settings is a function name. And then if we put another slash, everything after that is captured in there. It's put in there. So slug will be there. Now if we don't have a slug, because if we just do slash profile, it means we want to view your own profile. You want to see your own profile. So here I'm going to say slug is equal to, here we're going to say if, let's say session, right, is logged in, then let's get the slug from here. Slug is equal to, we'll get it from the session, and the way we get any column from the session is just by using the user function, and then here we specify the column, which is the slug, which we haven't made yet, but we will. Okay, now we should only check for the current user if slug is empty. So I'm going to say if empty slug, and we are logged in. Let's grab from there. Otherwise, we're just going to try to not pay attention to it. So let's go to the table here and add one more column called slug. We're going to put a length of 100 and variable character. We shouldn't accept no values, but for now, let's just accept it. Let's go to browse. Now, slug is up to you how you create it. You can combine the first name and last name, or just the username. So let's try username here, but a URL friendly version. So we're going to use small letters only, like that. So if there are two, I think just the username. And then if you find another person using that username, the slug should you just add a number at the end. So we can create a function called generate slug by going to functions and just clicking on, wait, don't I already have this function? This should be a function that comes with our, let me see here. I didn't put it in model, did I? Yeah, I should have added this. Get error, primary key, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is one thing I forgot to add. Okay, we will add it in future updates. Let me see, what about inside functions? No, it doesn't look like it's there. Okay, no matter, we're gonna create that function anyway. So down at the bottom here, we're gonna say function. We're gonna say generate underscore slug. So we'll be given a string like that. And then we're gonna return a better one, a URL friendly version of the string. So the first thing we're gonna do is just do preg replace, right? We're gonna do preg replace. First of all, I want to replace all the single quotes from there. So select single quote there and replace them with an empty string. And the subject is string. So here, string is equal to. So we replace all single quotes with nothing. And then we replace all spaces. So I'm going to do here preg replace uses regular expression. You can use regular expression. Here actually we don't need preg replace. We need string replace like that. Okay. Then here what I want is preg replace uses regular expression. Here just a normal string replacement. So here I wanted to create a pattern that I want to replace. So if, for example, let's see, let me replace, actually first of all, let me say string is equal to string to lower. Let me save it as a lowercase value. So change it to lowercase, remove all quotes from there, then remove everything that isn't in the alphabet. So I'm going to say A to Z, close that, plus, okay. So I want to replace everything that isn't this. So I'm going to put a caret inside there. Anything that isn't that, actually I don't need that plus there. Just single characters there. Anything that isn't that, replace with an empty. But before we do this, let's replace all spaces. So I'm going to do preg replace again. Here we replace spaces. So I'm going to do ls plus any space, whether it's a tab, replace it with a this dash over there. And then anything that isn't A to Z or this dash like so. Actually, isn't there another way to do this? It's I think word like that. Or digit. Yeah. So anything that isn't a letter or a digit or a number should be replaced with emptiness. And what else? Let me trim this finally. So I'm going to do string is equal to trim. Now what I want to trim are all the dashes that are on the beginning and the end there. Okay, great. I think this does it. So generate slug should be part of things in the sign up page. Now this, I'm yet to test this, so we will test it when we add more users and see what it does. So then I'm gonna go to, what else? We don't expect any spaces anyway, so that's fine. So what I'm going to go is generate slug. That's in the sign up situation. So the user controller, is it? That's where the sign up function is. So right here where we add row, we're going to add a slug column. And this one will use the generate slug. and pass in, because data is coming in from data there, let's pass in the data username. Now, to make it more unique, I guess you could put the first name and last name combined. So I'm gonna do first name and then duplicate here. But actually, let's use the username, because that's probably what people will be searching for in the URL, so that's better. Generate username there. Now, a slug must be unique, just like the what's this, the email. But in this case, we don't want to bother the user if it's not unique. So we're not going to add it to the list here and say slug should be unique for the, like we are doing here, because this one, it needs to inform the user as an error. But if the slug is not unique, we just generate a new one. So what I want to do is check in the database. So check for unique slug. So this is easy to do. We just need our to use the this and say this. What are we gonna look for? I'm gonna use first like that, and then say slug, and here I will put that. Okay, so we say if. Actually, we can put a while statement here so that it loops until it doesn't find one like that. Now, this is a dangerous way to loop, so you better always put a way out. So I'm going to do num is equal to 0 like this. So here we'll prioritize and say if num is less than 100 and no, or. So while num is less than 100, so here we must add num plus plus. That way we limit the loops to 100. If it loops 100 times and it can't generate a unique thing, it should just give up. So that way you avoid infinite loops in case of anything. So here it says while num is less than 100, we shouldn't put the or, we should put and actually. That way when one of these breaks, then it stops. So and this, the slug still there, then we have a problem. So we should change the slug as well as we loop. So slug is equal to generate slug again. Now the generate slug won't generate a different value if we give it the same input. So all we need to do is just add to this and say dot, let's put a random number from 0 to 9,999 like that. Any random number between 0 and that should do. So we'll just keep adding numbers to the end until we find a unique version of that. All right, and that's that. Great. We will test this eventually when we add a new user. But here, let me refresh, and there we go. Now, once we grab the information, I want it displayed here. So let's do that. I'm gonna go to the profile.php. So row is equal to that and slug. Yeah. Now, if slug does not exist, we put the current user's slug. So row is the result. Now, since we want to send it to the view side, we should put it inside data. So I'm gonna do data row like that. That way it's available on the profile page. So we come here on the overview. Oh wait, where is that? There's this table, the overview table, which is this one here. So let's make it all nice and neat. There's a table head here, which we don't need. I'm gonna remove that. We have tBody, which has a first table head here. So here is our name. So we must make sure that row exists, and then we put the username. Now it's better to escape these just in case somebody is trying to be malicious. Let's escape that so it's valid HTML in case it has special characters. But let's see, I can degrade this further, collapse this further by doing that and doing this. Yep, even better. Okay, so that's good, but we should know that row exists first of all. Let me just refresh here. Attempt to read property username on a boolean. Okay, so that's true. It doesn't exist, right? So row does not exist. In that case, we shouldn't even show the table. So I'm going to grab this. Where is this? I don't need to show the profile at all if the row data does not exist. So where do we go from there? There's this part here. In fact, this whole thing should not even display. That's up to where exactly? I'm looking for the ending, and that's just after this section. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to put an if statement here and say if not empty row, right? Then we show this. Well, let's go down here to the end of the section and put an else statement. Right about here, we put an end if. Duplicate. I'm going to put an else here. Full colon. Now here's where I want to put a message. Now I already have these message containers that are not visible. This one that says an error occurred, I'm gonna copy that one. That's what I'll put here. Right. So let me push these in, push that in. So here I'll just say, sorry, I'll just say that user was not found. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so profile, that user was not found. But why, you ask? Why was it not found? So let's go back to the profile here. Let's see what the value of slug is at this point. I'm going to use the show function that we created, I guess. So it doesn't show anything. I would rather use var dump in this case because it gives me the data type. Maybe it's a boolean that we have. So it's an empty string. It says string 0, which is true because we don't have a slug. If at the end here I could put my own slug like that, it would work. Look at that, because the slug is now this. But if there's none, it should get from the user, the current user. So if empty slug, which is true, and is logged in, which is true, this should have run. So let me see if this did indeed run. And the fact that I can see that means it ran. So the problem is the data is incorrect. So let's go to the session container here. Let's look at how we are supposed to grab user data instead. I think I just forgot. Nope, it's actually there. User, string key, and the default value. So this should work. Slug. Oh, I see. Okay, so the problem here is that when we logged in the first time, we didn't have a slug column. So all we need to do is log out and log in again. So that way we will have the slug column this time. And let's go to the profile. There we go. Things are working as intended. So you're grabbing the profile of the selected user. But if I do a slash and say maybe Mary as a slug, then it will say that user was not found, which is true. If it's not there, it will load the one for the current user. Or if I put the actual slug of the current user, it still works. Okay, now the name is over there, which is correct, but let's put the rest of the details and then we can move on to something else. So let's come here. I'm looking for where I put the names. Okay, so there we go. So then we have this first name. Let me grab that. This one is first name. Oops. Let me do this. There's last name here. I don't need to start fiddling with this. I can just change these things here. And then I can remove the last name from there. Email shall be the same. Actually, why am I suffering? I could just do this. This one is email. Right, let me copy that instead. It's shorter. And podcasts. Now this one doesn't have a row value. So instead what I'm going to do is just put the number 0 for now. This one is the bio. So that's one thing I forgot as well, the bio. So paste. Wait, what did I do? Copy that. Paste in here. Bio. So let's go back to the structure of the table. Add one more column, and that's the bio. This one will be variable character, maybe 2048 characters. Let's put no as a default. Save. All right, let's refresh, and there we go. So these are real details now, except that one there. That one will come from username. So let me grab this. Let's go up here. Let's put that there. Okay. Let's refresh, and there we go. Now we just want the image over here. Now on the image, we don't have an image, but we have a function that we created already to handle images for us. It's called the getImage function. Close that. And in there, we will put the raw image. And it will show us a placeholder if there is no image. Let me go to the functions and see the same getImage function. There's type here. Instead of post, we put user. So let me go back to my profile view. Let's put second like that and say user, because this is a user and not a post that is missing an image. So if I refresh, at least it shows that instead. So you can change these images, of course. They are inside public, assets, images, no image, and user WebP. So just edit those to change what image shows here as the default. Okay, so things are looking good. Now when I went to settings here, it was saying user not found, which is weird because it's trying to find, it sees the settings as a slug as well. So same as podcasts here. So let's fix that real quick. Now, no, actually that's not what happens. It's because it goes through a different function. So let's go to, where is this profile? So this part here should be done on all of them. So copy that. Let's go right here. On the settings part, we should read the user. Same thing on the podcasts part. We should know who is this profile for. So there we go, settings, podcasts. Good. Alrighty then, so far so good. This is not the last, oh, that's the first name and last name. Okay, great. Now let's be editing our profile. Okay, so to preload the data in here, we're just gonna use the old value function here. So I'm gonna go to, since we have the data inside raw, let me go to the profile view page. Let me zoom out a little bit here. So just like we were in the table here, we were getting this data or putting this data. We can do the same on this other table for user edit. So what I'm gonna do here is, let me remove this break tag, some here. So on this one, I'm gonna do value and put that, actually I'm gonna do old value. Now in here, normally we put the value that we show once we post, but then we can put a default value like that. That's how the function is set up. So once we do that, it should show some data in there, as you can see now. So in the same way, I'm just going to grab this, make copies. So change that to first name. And let's go ahead and put last name here. Let me remove this. And that as well. Okay, so we go ahead, put email, password. Now for password here, the thing is we don't want a default value here. Okay. We want this to be empty. So we're going to put a placeholder here and say leave empty to keep old password. Okay, great. Let me remove that break tag as well. And this one from the bio. Okay, so for the text area, these two have to be close together because any gap there is considered some text. So instead of value is equal to, we just put the old value directly there. And this one goes to bio, like so. All right, so let's come back here and see. Yeah, so password, leave empty to keep old password. Okay, good. The rest are like this, bio is empty. So when I click save here, it should save, but here doesn't even submit. So that means we need to change, we need to wrap the table inside a form of some kind. So here I'm going to say method is equal to post. Now, since we're going to be posting images as well, we need to change the ENC type to multi-part slash form dash data. Okay, so let's remove that. At the end of the table, I should put the closing tag. like so. Okay, very cool. Now we should be able to submit. If I refresh the page and click there, it now submits, which is great. We need an image here as well. So what I'm going to do is grab the... Let me just make that image thingy, since it seems we did not account for that. So I need to make a table row here, otherwise it won't fly. Table data, oops, TD, close that, and then change the column span to 2. That way it goes all the way. And then let's add some styles. Let's put some padding, 10 pixels, and then text align, center, like that. And then let's put an image. The source will be, as always, get image, close that. And here we'll put, what do we do? The default value, because let me just paste, let me copy this there here. Let me put image there on this side, like so. Okay. Now, even though we have this, we actually need to have, let me see here. Let me just refresh the page, and there we go. So we need to fix the let me put a style here. So I'm going to say style is equal to, let's put that at 100 pixel. This is for the width. The height, 100 pixels as well. And then object fit should be cover. And I think that would be good. Now, I want, when I click on this item here, the image itself, it should open a file browser. So I'm going to use a label for that. So I'm going to grab that, put a label. The use of the label is whatever is inside the label is clicked at once. So if I put an input of type file here, then when I click the image, since they are both in the same label, it's as good as clicking the input here. So the input name will be image, but then it should have a style or display none. I don't want to see it, I just want to be able to click it like that. So I'm going to refresh. That's a bit too small. So let's put 200 by 200 for exponential growth. So now if I click on it, it actually brings up the file browser. Now I need to have a cursor of pointer here. That way we know that, oh, that doesn't actually work. I need to put this right on the image itself. All right. So when I click, I can now browse for an image on somewhere. Let me look for people. I'll add this one here. Now, once I select, I need to be able to see it there. So what I'm going to do is add some JavaScript. So what I want to do is when there's a change in this input, I should actually, when there's a change in the input, I should actually do the, try to load it on the image here. Now the thing is, I should only try to load it if it's a valid image. So in that case, I best write a script to determine that. So on the change here, on the change event, we're going to put some JavaScript to tell us what to do. So here we're going to say, we're going to create a function called display image that will run in JavaScript. And here we're just going to supply this dot files 0. So this represents the element. Files is a property of elements which contains files, and it's an array, so we grab the first file. So let's create that function called display image so we can actually do some stuff with it. We're expecting a file to come in. Now we're going to check the file type. So first of all, we need to say let allowed is equal to, so here you put all file types allowed. Image JPEG. Then let me duplicate this a few times so you can put whatever image types you prefer here. So image PNG and image WebP are good enough. So there we go. That's what we allow. And then if we check to say if file.type, okay. First of all, let's do this. Let's say if allowed.includes file.type. That way we know it exists in there. We do that. But let's check if it does not include that. Then we put an alert and say file type not valid or something, and then we have to return to exit the function like that. If everything went well, we get to this part where we actually put the file there. Now if you want, you can tell the user as well what file types are allowed. File types allowed, you put a full colon space. Let's add a plus. I'm gonna say allowed.toString. That converts it to a string, and then dot replace all. We want to replace all the image slash from there. So what I'm doing is converting this to a string to say these are the file types allowed, and it's going to put a comma between them. But I don't want it to show this image slash. I just want it to show like JPEG, PNG, and WebP. That's great. And then if everything works well here, maybe let me grab the event instead. So I'm gonna grab this here. I should have grabbed the event instead. So what I'm gonna do here is we're gonna say let file is equal to this.file0, which is in our case e.target, or we're gonna call it current target, which is not actually, wait a minute, yes, current target. Current target represents the thing that had the event listener on it. So that item, e.currentTarget, so here we grab e instead. We grab the event and not the file, and then we extract the file from the event by grabbing the thing that created the event and then grabbing files from it. So there, that's how we get. Now the reason I've changed to e is because I want to make use of the e, because I can say the event.currentTarget and then say .parent, which is this one, and then .image, any image in there, then change its source. So here I'm going to say e.currentTarget .parent node .query selector. So inside that parent, find any image tag like that, and then in there change the source to the file. But we can't just put the file as a source. We have to create a temporal. We have to convert it to a base64, create a temporal URL of some sort. So we can do that by the function called url.create URL object. Or is it create object URL? I'm not even sure anymore. Maybe let's do that. So if it doesn't work to show an error, then we can change it or try to find the real function name. Okay, so that is great. Now if I refresh the page, let's give it a shot, shall we? If I do this, it shows my image. Now let's try and put a file that we definitely know is no image at all. Then I'm gonna try a debug.txt file. So it's gonna say file type not valid, file types allowed, undefined, undefined, undefined. Okay, so it's close to the truth but not there yet. The replacement here, when you say .replace, you have to tell it what to replace with, and I'm just going to put quotes like that to represent an empty string. So let's try again. Let's see here. So there we go. Allowed file types are JPEG, PNG, and WebP. Makes a lot of sense. So let's go in here in images, and let's select people, and there we go. Now keep in mind that even though you add a file type that is not allowed, it still remains in the input there, so we have to put an error for it as well. So we need to show errors here, just like we did for the other stuff, right? So if I click save here, I should see some errors coming up if things didn't go according to plan. So we can grab those things from the sign up page. So sign up page, I'm going to grab this part where it shows errors, right? So I'm going to go to, where is this? Profile.php, there we go. And now we have our username over here. So I want where there's the input, underneath that we can show an error. So there we go. I will do the same for first name. I just need to change what that represents and go down here to last name as well and change that to last name. So we do this for every input here until we are done. That way we can display errors for each one of them. So for the password repeat, like previously, we just ignore that. Let's go to the bio. Not that the bio will have any errors anyway, but we can just put it there just in case. Okay, so now that we have all of that, this requires user to be a variable in here. So we're going to go to the profile part. This is the settings profile. So everything we need there should be put in the data variable. So here I want this, the user part here, right? What is happening here? This should be here actually. So I want a version that I will take inside the data array. So I'm just going to do this. That way user will be available in the other side, on this side of town, I guess. And then if I now submit, so since here we are initiating, we are instancing stuff, I'm going to instance request as well. Is going to be equal to new. Let's put core there and request. All right, so that way we can check to see if something was posted. So we'll check that right down here. So I'm gonna do if Rick posted, which means something was posted. Then let's do stuff. So over here we can do things, and if things go well, we have to redirect the user to the same exact page we are on. And this exact page is profile, right? / settings. That's where we are, right? Yes. Now this should only happen if the validation is complete. So here I'm going to say if user validate, then let's put everything from the post variable there like that. Now I think I have a version of the request variable that carries this. So instead of using the post variable here, we can use something else. But let's see. In the request here, it's actually post. This one right here. Get a value from the post variable. Yep. If there's no key, it returns the whole thing. So instead of this, we can do instead request post, like that. So that's all the post data in there. This is posted is a question. This one brings you all the post data in there. So you can do it that way, be more professional. The reason you could do it this way instead of putting directly the post variable is because if you need in future to change how you grab things from the post variable, since you already have a function that does that, you can simply go in that function and change things, rather than if you used the normal post variable, then it means you just have to go through your code everywhere where you used it. You have to change how you're using it. That's more hectic than changing a single function. So this is why you may want to use this instead for future proofing your code. Okay, so if validation is correct, then we're going to say user and say update, and then do some updating. Now, in order to update, we need to know our ID column, right? We can get that from the row. But row is inside this right there. And it's also important to only run this if row is a thing at all. So if something was posted but we didn't get the row, we shouldn't bother to even go this way. So in here I can do row and then get the ID from there, right? Now if for some reason your column is not named ID, it's probably something like user ID, that's all good. When updating, all you have to remember is to tell it that the primary key ID is not ID but something else. So in here I want the data first of all. Now if I grab that data from there, yeah, actually I can do this. I can say data. Let me not use data because we are using data from here. So maybe I can call it post data is equal to, and let's grab it from there. And then I can grab that post data and put it here. But then if you're using a different column here, you have to specify that user ID is indeed the primary key, which in this case here would be user ID as well. But if it's ID, you can put ID, or you can just omit that because its default is ID. So we grab that. Now if we want to add extra stuff here, for example, I don't want to update, we have to check the password here. Check if password is empty and ignore it. So if the password is empty, we don't want to include the password in this update because otherwise we're going to wipe the password clean. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if post data password, right? If it's empty, so we're going to say if empty, like that, okay? Then we should unset it completely. So I'm going to do post data password. So if it's empty, let's just remove it entirely. That way it doesn't even edit anything in there, like so. But when validating as well, we need to include how we validate. Let's go to model.php. For example, this password. We need to put a validator that says same as, and then, so password should be the same as retype password, right? So let's go to the user model here. I'm gonna go here for the So password should not be less than 8 chars. It's required, but at the same time, I have to check to see if, let's see, same as. So we can create a row that is same as, and then put the column name of what we're trying to compare it with. So this one is retype underscore password. So it should be the same as retype password. Now let's make this one work as well. So I'm going to copy this and let's go to the model.php. Now the thing is, this row is special. It's not like these others, because required will always be required. This one will always be like this, but this one will change according to the column name here. We can say maybe it should be the same as email, same as another column. So this row will always be changing. So the only part that will never change is this part here. So we should somehow check for that. So let me go to model.php and look at where we have our rows, so we can create a similar row there. So there's unique, there's all that, but let's duplicate this one. So on this one, now case, this becomes a little bit of a problem. We can't really use the switch statement anymore. What we need to use is the if statement. So we'll leave the switch statement here, let it go through all of these, but then we're going to put our very own if statement at the bottom. So I'm going to select this part where the switch ends while we are inside the loop. So the switch ends there after the break. So I'm going to leave some space. Then I can put an if statement and say if. Now the case here we are looking at is row, right? So I'm going to say if row, if string, or we can do preg match instead. If preg match, let's put a pattern here. This one is same underscore as. Now the reason I use the preg match is because I want to show that this same as should be at the beginning of the text. So that's why I'm putting that there. So if the beginning of the text starts with same as underscore, the subject is row, then I don't know, do or process the same as row here. So we'll process it from here. So this part that I duplicated, I want to move it lower. So when moving like this, I use Shift Control and then the down key. This is inside Sublime Text. Okay, so with this here, case not, this is not the case, so we remove that. I just want the code where we do something with it, right? Let's go like that. So here we'll put an error instead and say this column should, maybe we can say does not match, does not match, and then here we can add something else. So we're just gonna grab the row itself and remove this part. So it doesn't match string replace. What are we searching for? We're searching for same as, underscore. And let's replace that with an empty string. What item is that? We're doing that, it's the row. So that's how we can add an error over here. We don't need the break, otherwise we're gonna break the loop. So let's remove that. All right, seems about right. Now this is not the if statement here we should be doing. We should be grabbing the column name first. So we can grab it by this. So let's go here and say core name is this. This is the one that should be same as. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna say call name, this one here. Since we're already doing this here, we don't need to do this again here. It's the same thing, so we're just gonna put that result there. So I'm gonna say if that column name is the same as, where is the value? Okay, so that's the column name, okay. And then there's column as well. But all of these are inside data. So let's do this. And wait, this is a mistake. I should have done this here. Data, like that. Wait, what's going on? No, this is wrong. I'm supposed to put it here, like data, like that. They're all supposed to be missing a U here. So if these are not the same, then we complain. Okay. Okay. Good. Let's try it out. So here we put the rules, validate, everything seems okay. So let's try it out. So I'm just going to try and save. And there we go. Email should be unique. Password is required. Okay. Now, a few changes we should make. Let me go back to profile.php. Okay. So over here, in order for it to know that we're in edit mode, to deal with this, email should be unique. And even maybe the password is required. I don't know. What can we do here? Now the thing here is this. There are certain things, for example, the password is required when you're signing up, but not when you're editing. So you can make a different model to deal with the edit version of things. That way you can put different rules in that model. So we're definitely going to do that. So here what I want to clear one of those errors is I want to add the ID inside post data first of all. So I'm going to grab, this is where the ID is. So I'm going to add it to add row ID for validation. So this should be done before the validation process. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, so this post data should be captured before this section here. So I'm going to do this and do that. And then say post data ID is equal to the ID that comes from the row. And then instead of putting this here, since I've already done that here, I can just put post data in there. So boom. Okay, so we add the ID. This should get rid, or should it? Yes, it does get rid of one of these because now the ID is being considered when checking for duplicates. But then we have this password is required, right? Okay. So we can put two rules again here. So there's a required one, right? So there's required here. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this one. So we can have two of these, required and required on insert. We can also have required on edit. Those are things you can consider. So let's look at how we dealt with or is this unique, right? This one has, we grab the key, and then if, so we grab this part, it's needed. So if not empty, so required on insert. So if this one is not empty, the primary key, which means is that then you check. But if it's empty, wait, required on insert. So if the ID is empty, it does not exist, then we can require it. Otherwise we can't. So we can do this, and then we can put another one for required on edit. So that if there's something that's required on the edit and not on the insert, then you can put it in something. You can use this type of if statement. Just put a not there, and then you can deal with it like this. Okay, so required on insert can make us change what we are doing here. So like password here, it's required, but it's required only on insert, not on the edit, but during insert. So that way we can have different errors. So password should not be less than 8 characters. Okay. Okay, so this makes things a little bit complex. So because even this is required only, and actually, why is this? Oh, I see. Okay, so the errors are not looking too good. Let me go back here for a second. That's the profile view page. So what I want to do is deal with the errors. And I can do that by grabbing this class here. Why do we have so many different classes? Oh, that's 88, 85, 88. Okay, so let me grab all these class 88, anything with class 88 here, and up to bio, that's good enough. Then let me add a style after that. So the style is going to be flex direction. Let's use column. Okay. So if I now refresh, the error should come down here, which is more reasonable. And then let's do a text align left. Let's see how that works. Okay, I think that helps. Now I don't want to be dealing with the password in here. So what I'll do is just duplicate the user model. So I'm going to select all of this and go to models, new, paste, and save. Now this one I can call it user underscore edit.php. That's the class name now. So I can change it here. It's going to be user edit as well. User edit class. So it's the same table. Everything remains the same. What I can edit remains the same. It's just that the rules will change. Here I can remove the password. This still presents a problem because I think we should change this. I'm going to change this validation rules on edit, validation rules on insert. That's what I'm going to do in future, because I see here we're having a problem with this. So we're going to have to separate the rules, but I'm just going to remove this from the user edit version of things. Otherwise, everything else remains the same. Now, the user edit doesn't need a sign up and a login version of these functions. So I'm going to remove those so we don't have duplicates of these functions. This one is just strictly to deal with the rules. So I'll come back to profile.php here. And when I instantiate the user class, instead I'll instantiate the user edit class. Like that. Okay, the rest of this will work as intended. Now we just won't have the password error. So let me click there. Okay, so things are looking up here. That's great. Let me see if I add a number, what happens? It says, okay, so it complains. That's great.